Your heartbreak will get better moment you hear what I am going to say today. People always want to know like from which kind of grief is worst. Is it kind of death? Is it a divorce where they are still rejecting you every day on this planet? Like what's the worst? And I always go yours. Your grief is always the worst. Yes, it's always the worst. Forget about everyone else's. It's just you. Grief is a change you don't want. And what is heartbreak but a change you didn't want? When someone leaves you, when someone betrays us, when someone decides that they no longer want us, that is a change. That is the change that you don't want in your life. And the result we typically call heartbreak. But the heartbreak is a kind of grief. It's a grieving over a person we have lost that we will likely never have back again in our life. It's a grieving over a future that we thought we would have live out together, but it is no longer our reality. It's the unwelcome arrival of a reality, a new future that we did not even plan for it, that it will begin today. And we are probably not ready to start it today. But the heartbreak I want to talk with you guys today is not simply the heartbreak of romantic partner who had left us, but heartbreak in general that can occur in different forms in our lives. Because we can be heartbroken in love. We can be heartbroken in life as well. Heartbreak is a certainty of life and we all are going to experience it. No matter which stage are you in. And I always tell people when you are in a comparing state, you are in your mind and you don't have a broken mind. You have a broken heart and we have to go into our heart. And of course we do this sometimes, don't we? We may have dated someone for a month and when that person decides that they don't want us or ghost us or it frizzles us out, we may feel heartbroken, but not feel entitled to feel heartbroken in the way that someone who has been dating someone for 2 years and it breaks up is heartbroken, or someone who's been in the 30 years of marriage and is now going through a divorce is heartbroken. But this is all very logical reasoning. And it's not your mind that is broken, it's your heart. And when I think of my own heartbreak, not a heartbreak in my romantic life, but some of the great heartbreaks of my life in general, I feel myself starting to tear up. And I actually try to carry on as if nothing has happened in the middle of such situations where I'm in public or where I'm talking to my friends or wherever I'm, it triggers. I may not know that person or people, when I am feeling this way, yet hopefully there was something that hid inside of you. And I can tell you it's a little unattended grief. And we all live with some unattended grief. I mean right now that sadness, that disappointments in your eyes, there is something that we all have it. And I then had to consider while I was helping all of you what grief I had not attended in my own life. And I would love to invite you now with me to think about what grief, what disappointments in life, what heartbreak in your life have you not attended to, and why don't we attend to these things? Why is it that my instinct, aside from being live on camera helping you guys, why is it that my instinct was to move on from that and not sit with it, but to speed right past to it, isn't it? We fast forward our past, we fast forward our pain. It's because that pain that's behind it so difficult to confront, isn't it? I have studied somewhere about buffalo. And you must be thinking, what is buffalo has to do with the heartbreak or even grief? When buffalo sense a storm coming, they start heading towards the storm because they know that by heading towards the storm, they will be in the storm for less time. The storm will be over for them faster. But what we humans do is we constantly try to stay away a feet away from the storm, and by doing so we remain in this storm's orbit indefinitely. And we have all storms and mechanisms for keeping the storm a few feet away. We may move on anytime the situation gets close. We may try to avoid any potential trigger for our heartbreak anytime it comes up. We may go to an emotion that's more comfortable for us to go to. I know that there have been certain situations in my life, and I'm not speaking past tense. I'm not talking about 5 years ago. I'm talking about right now. There are certain situations in my life that it's been easier to be angry about, and one of the things that I heard that floored me was that anger is bodyguard for pain. Yes. And so I had to explore what pain is underneath that my anger. What pain is underneath my anger? Maybe if you think back to a relationship, that the way it ended or betrayed that you experienced, that the thing person did or did to you or made you feel, that anger that is brought up for you that maybe stayed around for a long time. What was underneath that anger? Because I know what was underneath my anger. Underneath my anger, there was a disappointment. It's that grief that, there are plenty of things in my life that I feel like there is plenty of storms I have headed right into very bravely. And there is other storms in my life where it's felt so scary to get close to the emotion. We have this fear that if we start crying about something, we will never stop. So we avoid it altogether. But in my life, while recording this video about it, this is the proof for me that I have overcome it. I have faced it. I have been into this. I want to go towards those storms, every single one of them that I have been avoiding, because I have been a lot of healing with myself in the last few years, and I have had the help of some amazing people. You might want to do the same right now. Yeah, because the truth is none of these emotions can stick around forever. If we actually head into the storm, if we act like the buffalo do and allowing ourselves to feel these emotions deeply, feel them, engage with them, is a form of showing up for ourselves and tending to ourselves. If we really feel our own sadness, the disappointment of what has happened to us in our lives, then we have an opportunity to exercise self-compassion. But we can't exercise that compassion for things that we have ignoring. In order to have a compassion for ourselves, we have to come to terms with the loss that we have experienced. And the loss might be something that came and went, or it might be the feeling of loss that comes with something we never really coming into terms, with something that we never had, and the pain of that. That's the form of showing up for ourselves, that self-compassion. We live in a culture today that sort of demonizes the idea of feeling sorry for oneself. The idea of feeling sorry for yourself is about the worst thing you can do. But what we have to do is look at the feeling sorry for yourself in a different light, as feeling for yourself for what you have been through. The only time that feeling sorry for yourself is a problem is when it goes hand in hand with lack of accountability and ownership. If I spend my whole life feeling sorry for myself and I never do anything about it, that's when we waste our lives, when we waste our efforts. But what if feeling for yourself was doing something about it? What if feeling for yourself was the root of doing something about it? Haven't you ever had a conversation with someone where they felt for you, they saw you, and they understood you? They showed up for you in a certain way, and by doing that, it was a healing for you, and from that place you were coming from. This is more empowered. You were able to do more because you felt seen, you felt heard. That was the basis of foundation on which you could actually start move again. Well, that if you could do that for yourself, I know that in various parts of my life for a long time, I never showed up for myself. In that way, one of the things I realized about myself, no one ever abandoned me as badly as I abandoned myself. And how do we abandon ourselves? We abandon ourselves emotionally in all sort of ways, by judging ourselves, shaming ourselves, constantly criticizing everything we do. We tell ourselves we are bad, telling ourselves we are unworthy, not sticking up for ourselves. And like I have been saying, one of the ways we abandon ourselves is not recognizing our own pain, not actually sitting with our own pain and exploring it and showing up for ourselves, and for ourselves exercising compassion for ourselves. In that department, one of the things that struck me about my conversation with one of my friends lately, the voice that he spoke to me in it was actually one of the things that made me most emotional, was just his voice, because there was a kindness to his voice. It was soft, loving and compassionate. And it was in such direct contrast to the kind of voice that I have used with myself so much and so many times in my life. And just having the kind of voice that I want to get better at internally, externalized in the form of my friend. Was it modeled how self-compassion, self-kindness can feel? And that is a really beautiful thing. There's a real you in there. That's so kind and loving, but oh my gosh, that's the hardest voice to find, and that's your voice. And so that's your voice. You got to keep turning up, and it's scary to change. It's scary to grow, but we know that staying in the same fields, like, yeah, it's scary, because it's a whole new way of being you, and you don't know how to move through the world like that yet. This video, alongside inviting you to look at those areas where you have unattended grief, alongside being an invitation to head towards the storm, can also be an invitation to start to adopt a different, kinder, softer voice for yourself. And maybe in some small way, I can be that voice for you in this video. Let's do some healing together. I'll see you in next video.